everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if they are blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it does not have to be that way. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with someone else who might also be wanting to start their own company. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment is well within your reach, and just as our businesses have grown organically and by word of mouth, we want this show to grow the same way. So if you see somebody asking questions about starting their own service-based company, please send them a link to the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me, as always, is David Hilton.
Mitch, I thought you were going elk hunting. What happened?
Well,
Not going anymore?
I didn't go last year, and I didn't go the year before. Kind of made the decision that as my kids are in like prime vacation age, if I'm going to take time off work, I'm going to make sure I'm spending it with them. So elk hunting will always be there, and I'll eventually get to go back either as my kids age out of vacations or if they get into hunting, then I'll take them.
Don't you have to take them hunting for them to get into hunting? You ever even taken any of them?
Yeah, I've taken Mason. Grant
don't give a shit.
He's kind of a tenderfoot.
What do you mean by tenderfoot?
I don't know if he could handle aiming a weapon at an animal, let alone pulling the trigger.
Or let alone cutting its guts open and spilling blood everywhere.
But the kid will stomp a skink on our sidewalk like it's nobody's business. But you get into you get an animal to the size that might have like a personality and like a, you know what I mean?
So squirrels, okay. Rabbits, okay. Fish, okay. Small birds, okay.
Warm-blooded animal. Yeah, so like, Grant.
Like raccoon is too big?
No, snake is too big. Like, he caught a snake.
I have no problem killing a snake.
No, he caught a snake in the yard. This was 2 years ago. Little, 14-inch long garter snake. And then 20 minutes later, he caught a little 10-inch long ringneck snake. And he's like, I want him as pets. Okay. We like snakes in this house. That's cool. So we made a little thing, aquarium thing with dirt and leaves and sticks and all this shit. And 3 weeks later, he decides, well, the ringneck snake died, probably because it was so tiny we had no clue what to feed it. We got crickets for the garter snake, and the garter snake would eat crickets. Well, 3 weeks later, he decided he didn't want the garter snake anymore. He thought, man, if I was just walking around and somebody picked me up as a pet and took me away from my mom, I'd be mad. So
deep.
He let it go in the front yard. Okay? 2 hours later, he comes to me crying because he missed a snake and he thinks he made a bad decision. I'm like, go find him. The son of a bitch goes in the front yard and finds him. 2 hours later, the guy had 2 hours of freedom and he didn't get away. Yeah.
Fault on both of them.
Oh, man.
That's a dumb snake. Or he was like, maybe if I stay here, I can get an unlimited smorgasbord of crickets again. So.
We could just do an entire episode. We could do an entire podcast just called The Smedley Household.
Yes.
We could literally do that.
It's kind of a sitcom around here sometimes.
You could just talk about the Smedley household.
Yeah.
For 2 hours a week. You could do 2 episodes a week. It'd be easy. You could fill it easily.
Probably. Wow. Has nothing to do with business.
No.
Just all the crazy stories that happens to everybody, but I'll tell them.
No, just to you. Just to you.
Yeah.
Mitch is...
When you leave tonight, ask Grant about finding a snake again after 2 hours.
When this is over, I'm getting the fuck out of here. It's like an insane asylum.
He's going to watch his step first on his way out to his truck.
No.
We got abnormally large amount of snakes around our house. Awesome. Every time you mow the yard, you'll see 2 or 3 of them.
Really?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Don't you have cats?
They don't go outside.
Cat people are fucking weird. I'm not even sure how we're friends.
Yeah.
Cat people.
I don't like my cats.
Ugh.
I mean, every time Danielle gets upset about the hair around the house, I'm like, I'll get rid of 2/3 of it right now. We got 2 cats and a dog. I'll get rid of 2/3 of this hair right now. You just say the word.
I was thinking like she was one, and then the cat was one, and then the other cat was one. I forgot about the fucking dog. We'll get rid of all of it.
Wayside Waves. So you guys take 5'7" redheads.
Not crazy ones. Oh my God, what are we talking about today, Mitch?
Today, we are talking
What are we
about...
gonna talk about?
We're going to hit up 3 topics today.
Okay, topic number 1.
Topic
what is
number
it?
1 is sales and options related to those sales. Topic number 2 is cheap requests equal cheap leads. Topic number 3 is our outlook on the looming recession.
Why do you sound like an 80s game show host?
90s game show host.
Okay, 90s. Okay, I'll give you 90s.
We'll
Is that
save you
what
the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge, right?
Okay.
Topic 1, sales and options.
Sales and options.
So this is one of those things, a lot of things you know, but you don't know other people don't know. And so it does you good to like identify, oh, wait, maybe people don't know that. Maybe we should talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And so this weekend, I was running emergency calls on the weekend. So here in a few episodes, we'll talk about why I'm running emergency calls on the weekend. But I gave all my guys, this was Labor Day weekend. Gave all my guys a 3-day weekend off. They get Labor Day paid, all that stuff. We don't always run emergency calls, but I chose to this weekend, and I'm not going to like pigeonhole one of my guys into having to do that, so I ran it. Let them. I've had a fair amount of vacations this year, so I didn't need the holiday, and so I let them enjoy their vacation, their 3-day weekend, and I ran the call. My 13-year-old son decided to throw on a uniform and jump in the truck with me and ride along. So on the way to this service call,
Did you make him pay for that shirt?
Nah, I got some extras. Here's another story for you. We hired a guy that didn't make it to day 4.
Yeah.
He was the first guy I hired in our company, and technically, he never even fully was hired because he never ever turned in his new hire paperwork. He called in sick on day 1. He showed up day 2, showed up day 3, called in sick on day 4, and I said, don't even bother showing up on Friday. I said, I'll put a check in the mail for the 2 days you worked for me. Adios.
Adios,
So,
amigo.
was never even officially an employee.
Did he even care?
I doubt it. So, anyway, I had already ordered, like, literally the first day somebody is here, I order all their uniforms. And so I already had uniforms for him. He was a very small, scrawny guy, about the size of my 13-year-old kid. So my 13-year-old was wearing his uniforms. But anyway, he's riding in the truck with me, and on the way to the job, I was explaining to him, like, everything that I'm going to do. I was trying to get across to him how intentional this visit is. It's not like somebody calls me and I just go out there and wing it, right? I have a very specific agenda and a very specific plan for how the service call goes. And when you do that correctly, you'll have success. And so I told him, we're going to go there. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to learn a little bit about the customer. I'm going to learn a little bit about what's wrong. And I'm going to quickly identify exactly what's wrong and what it's going to take to get it fixed. I'm going to present the customer at least 3 options to get their repair taken care of today. They're going to agree to one of those options, and we're just going to do it. And he says, okay. So we get there, and I introduce myself to the customer, get to know them a little bit. Come to find out, they broke their toilet supply valve. They were trying to rebuild their toilet and couldn't get the valve. Like, the valve broke, and it's leaking water on their floor and all this stuff. And so I gave them like a very, very minor repair option. I gave them a more inclusive repair option. And then I also gave them an option to completely replace the toilet to a brand new toilet, right? Toilets in their house are like 20 years old. So they're of the age where they don't flush all that well and all of that stuff. So you never know what people might want. Anyway, they decided not to go with the cheap option and not to go with the toilet option. They wanted to go with the middle-of-the-road option, which is usually the most common
We talk
decision.
about it all the time. We
Right.
did a whole entire episode, not specifically on this, about how people like to get value
Yeah.
and like to have options.
Yeah.
And they don't just want two.
Yeah.
3 is the minimum. You have got to, no matter what industry you're in, you've got to have a minimum. If you're a lawnmower, you have, I mow your yard. We have, I mow your yard and then we trim it. And then we have, I mow your yard, trim it, bag it, and take care of your landscaping.
Right.
So that people can choose what level of what they feel is the best value for them in their situation based on price, amount of work done, and just the end outcome that they're looking for in that specific situation.
Yeah. You might have a customer that would never pay anybody to mow their lawn because they don't think it's worth anything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you might have a customer like I have customers that spend $10,000 a month on landscaping.
Well, they're commercial.
No, these are in the fancier part of town. They have these giant estate lots.
You're talking about where they have full-time gardeners.
They have full-time gardeners,
everything.
and there's a gardener there 24/7, 365. $10,000 a month is what they're spending on gardening, right?
Man.
So
you know what I could do with that money?
Imagine how much money you're leaving on the table going up there and saying, I'll mow your yard for $30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to give them options.
But there's customers also that, hey, my dad's in the hospital. I don't have time to mow his yard for him.
I just need you to knock it down.
Can you run over there and just cut it real quick? Yeah. $25.
Yeah.
There is a space. We talk about it all the time. There is a space for everyone at every price point in almost every trade out there.
Yeah.
There is going to be, sometimes you're going to get, the Taj Mahal price. Sometimes you're going to get jobs that you're barely making enough money to get there, but your foot's in the door.
Right. So anyway, these customers choose the middle of the road option. And we go out to the truck and get started right away. And while I'm out in the truck, my son asks me, he goes, why didn't they go for the cheap option? He goes, it was like $100 cheaper. And I said, well, people are interesting. They don't want the cheapest. They think they do, but they actually don't. And so when you give them 3 options, they feel better about themselves if they decline the cheapest thing you give them. But if you only gave them the cheap option, they would tell you you're too expensive. But if you give them 3 options, they'll decline the cheap one and actually choose to spend more money than you were initially going to offer had you just given them the one option. And he's like, oh, okay. So anyway.
Wheels are turning for the young man.
Wheels are turning, right? So we go inside, make the repair. I maintain conversation with the customer through the repair. This customer was kind of the one that's like, he tried fixing it himself, so he's going to look over your shoulder the whole time.
Yeah, he's trying to learn something.
He's trying to learn something, and he's trying to learn where he fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And some guy, I'll tell you
Inquisitive minds, man.
If you're in the in-home service industry and that chaps your ass when a homeowner watches you the whole time, get a different fucking career.
Yeah, it's all the time. It's constant.
You're in their property.
Yeah.
They get to do whatever the hell they want. So if you get pissed off that a homeowner watches what you're doing, chances are it's because you're not all that confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's more of an attack on your insecurities than anything else.
Well, and I wouldn't say get another job, but just you've got to get better and get used to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people won't get better, is what I'm saying. So
if they're new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
New guys are. You were that way, I'm sure, at one time. When you're new and you're a little unsure, but you're a little unsure, it makes you nervous when people are watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just get used to it.
Yep.
Get better. And it'll be fine.
So he's sitting there watching me and kind of asking me what I'm doing and everything else. And so I'm replacing the supply stop on his toilet. And so I pull the stop off and I pull underneath the toilet supply stop is always the chrome escutcheon ring.
Yeah.
And old, 20-year-old escutcheon ring. It's got rust marks on it and pits and everything else. So I swapped that out too.
Guess what that's from?
Yeah, it's from pee.
Yeah. Pee eats everything.
Yeah. So
gross.
So I pull that off and swap it out. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you were going to do that. I'm like, oh, yeah. It's the only way to get that off is to pull the stop off. So this is the only time in the next 20 years where this stop's going to be off. Let's make sure that we replace this too. And he's like, oh, I like it.
You could always get a split ring, cut that one off.
Maybe. So
what makes you look good?
While all that's off, I grab some sandcloth and I dress up the copper real nice too. We're going to make this thing look fancy, right? So clean everything up, get it all put back together and get them all back into service. And he's like, wow, that was fast, and you get that a lot, especially if you're really experienced. And so I tell him that, It's the line I have to tell everybody. I've done this for 20 years. If I was slow, I'd probably be worried if I were you.
Yeah.
Like 20 years earns you some speed.
Yeah.
Plus, I've got a really well-stocked van, so it makes it very fast and efficient for me to get parts and all that stuff.
And if your tradesman is fast and good, okay, you're not paying for his time, you're paying for his knowledge and his expertise.
Yeah.
So if anyone's ever given you crap, just say that. You're not paying me necessarily for my time here.
Yeah.
You're paying me for my knowledge and my experience.
Yeah. So we get all cleaned up, clean up all our trash, clean up everything, turns water back on, bleed out all the air, do all the whole thing. And I tell him I'm going to go out to the truck and put all my tools away and stuff like that, and I'll come back in and settle up. So I go out to the truck, put my tools away, get all his invoice written up and everything else, and I come back in to settle up. And his wife says, his wife didn't say anything yet. And so I mentioned to him that, we had talked about the possibility of doing a new toilet. I will tell you that the work we did today is work that we do when you do a new toilet anyway. So if over any time in the next 30 days you guys decide you want a new toilet, I'll apply today's repair charge. I can't apply the service charge, the trip charge, but I'll apply today's repair charge towards a new toilet. And that perked the wife's ears up. And she's like, well, we've been thinking about replacing both the toilets on this floor to newer, taller toilets. Our bedroom's on this floor. That's our guest bedroom or guest bathroom that you were in, the hall bathroom. So, these two toilets get used the most. We were thinking about doing these. And so, now she's open to the idea, right? She's not totally closed off. She's actually talking about replacing more than one. And so I mentioned to her that if we do multiple toilets, I would do them for 15% off, because we can do two toilets, pretty quick, almost as fast as we can do a single toilet. It's still the same number of trips to the supply house. It's still the same number of times we have to turn the water off and turn it back on and, all of that stuff. So we're not talking much difference in time other than the amount of time it takes to set the toilet, right?
Yeah.
All of the other back end time things aren't doubled. And so now she really perked up and she's like, oh, really? So she gets out her calculator and literally starts putting the math to it. And I can just factor it up real quick on my tablet. And so I factor it up really quick on my tablet and tell her, yeah, you'd be looking at X if we come back and do two toilets. And she was like, let's do it. And so my son is watching all this and he's just amazed, right? So we get all done. And I was a little over $300 for the service charge and the repair charge that day. And then I've got a nice job on the books for a couple of weeks from now. They're getting ready to go on vacation. That's why they had to have us there on the holiday. But I've got a nice job for when they come back in town. We're going to replace both these toilets. So we get back in the truck, and my son's just like, holy cow. He's like, I mow yards, and I spend like an hour to mow a yard, and I make $30. He's like, you were only here for like a half hour, and you made $300. And you've got a whole bunch more money coming in whenever they have you back out.
It's like, yeah, bro.
I'm like, yeah. That's the art of communication and the art of offering options, right? There's a lot of listeners to this show that would have literally walked into that house, gave them one option, and it would have been the bare minimum that it took to get them back in service that day, and they would have left.
Yeah.
Okay? I gave them that option too. They didn't want it. But when you only give them one, you can get a no or a yes, and that is it. When you give them multiple options, you get the opportunity to where they can still, I go 3 options. I can get 2 no's and still get a yes. But on top of that, I put the ball in the customer's court to where now I'm not selling. All I'm doing is using my years of experience and my expertise in the field to say, look, I think we got 3 options here. I'm comfortable with any of these 3. What do you think works best for you and your expectations and your budget? And then literally they are choosing what to buy. So
yeah. People love to shop. Yeah. Basically, you're allowing them to shop for something that they need that they can't just go to a store and buy.
Yeah.
You're just bringing the store and the shopping experience to them.
Yeah. Customers hate to be sold but they love to buy.
Yeah.
And so that's why the options method works. If you go in and offer them one option, you're now selling them on the repair. Whereas if you give them 3 options, now they're buying. They're getting a choice in the matter. They're getting to choose. I don't want this one. This one's not good for me. I want that one. And the goal when you offer 3 options is not that they pick any certain option. It's not that you offer them 3 and hope they pick the top one.
No, you're okay with all of them.
You're okay with any of them. When you go into a call with a 3 option mentality, the goal is that you walk out with a sale. The reason why that's the goal is because when you walk out with a sale, for one, you most likely have a really satisfied customer because they got to buy on their terms. But for 2, a really satisfied customer will get you 2 more customers in the future.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell 2 of their family and friends about you.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Word of mouth and customer satisfaction.
Right.
When the customer is satisfied, no matter what has happened, you're getting 2 more calls. You may not get 2 more sales, but you're going to get 2 more calls every time.
And so if I would have gone in and I would have told them it's $189 to fix the one thing you need, well, now we're at a very black and white issue, and they're able to make a decision, is that worth it or is it not? They may still have me go ahead and do the repair, even though they know it's not worth it just because they don't have a choice, right? They need to get it fixed. It's an emergency or whatever. But then that's like the worst one ever. Because now they paid me $189 and now they're bad-mouthing me to their friends.
Well, maybe not bad-mouthing.
I felt it was too expensive. He wasn't here that long or whatever, right? However, when you go in with 3 and they pick the one that works best for them, and let's say it was the middle or the upper option. Well, now nobody could say we overcharged them because they chose to spend that much. They had a cheaper option, and they chose to spend that much money.
Yeah.
And so that becomes really important, too, when you're dealing with, like, spouses where one spouse isn't there. Because now the spouse might come home and be like, you spent how much with the plumber?
Yeah.
And it takes all the heat off the plumber because now, it's not a case of we sold them this repair at this price. It's
he screwed us, and I wasn't there.
Right.
That's really the husband thing. He screwed us. I wasn't there. He was taking advantage of my wife. Well, if you got 3 options and she chose an expensive option, I mean, he's already in check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what happened, that call never even gets to us.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is he'll be like, oh, he screwed us and blah, blah, blah. And the wife says, no, he offered us a cheaper option. I chose this one because I thought it was best.
Yeah.
Well, now it's a disagreement between them, and it stays totally off our shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's literally the best way to go about business. I have to remind and encourage our guys to do this all the time. And I'm going to say 98% of our upset customer interactions that we have, 98% of those revolve around calls where less than 3 options were given.
Yeah.
So the customer was put into a platform where they could choose, were we worth it or were we not?
Yeah.
So.
And this is a lesson that isn't just for plumbing. Like we gave the lawnmower. I mean, if you cut hair, there's cut and color, there's cut color shampoo, there's a 1,000 different options.
Yep.
It works in every trade.
Jiffy Lube.
Yeah.
They've got the economy package, and they show like some little shitty 2-door car.
Yeah.
They've got the mid-grade package, and they show like a sportier 4-door car.
Yeah, or they give you the original.
And then
oil.
they've got the performance package, and they show like an exotic car.
Yeah, synthetic, nice filter. Like when you go to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's is a great example. They have the good, better, best.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Hey, I need an oil filter for my 2012 Chevy 1500.
Yeah. Do you want the MicroGuard? Do you want the Fram?
Yeah, he says you want the good, better, or best.
Right.
And it's literally 3 price points. I like Wix filters, so I always go with Wix, but that's their middle grade.
Yeah.
It works for them. I mean, it's just, I bet, I wonder what their numbers actually are, but I guarantee that at least half of the customers pick that middle grade.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
There is some psychology too, like most people gravitating towards the middle and all that stuff. If you really wanted to play it up, you would stack your most profitable option in the center. However, most of the people listening to this show, you're putting options together kind of on the fly, and it's kind of hard to do that.
It's easier for guys that really know what they're doing to go, okay, this is the minimum, this is the middle ground, and this is the highest.
Yeah.
And you may actually make more money per time spent there on the middle option.
Yep.
You may make it on the lowest.
Yeah.
100% depends on what it is that you're doing.
So I have a guy on my team that's been struggling these last couple of months with low average tickets. In other words,
you mean average sales?
Average sales, right? And so I was talking to him. I was talking to him a little bit last week. It's kind of a process to get somebody's head out of the game, or head back in the game, right? So I was talking to him a little bit last week, and I told him we'll hit it hard and heavy come Tuesday. And so this morning, on his way to his first call, I call him up, and I tell him, hey, I had to rush out of the house this morning early. I didn't get a chance to even check what your first call is. What's your first call? And he said, it's a sump pump out. And I said, okay, before you even get there, you need to have planned in your head possibilities for options. You can't have your options planned because you don't know exactly what's wrong yet.
Well, and a sump pump's an easy one. Minimum, you're selling 2 grades of sump pumps.
Right.
I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. We have 2 grades of sump pumps.
So there's 2 options right there.
We have battery backup systems as well.
Oh, so so 3 options.
And then we have like discharge pipe upgrades where we can bury the discharge pipe or replace the discharge pipe if it's inferior. And so I told him, I said flat out.
What's inferior discharge pipe?
Like somebody went to Home Depot and got a roll of that 1 1/4 accordion pipe or whatever. Like we see that.
Do you see that a lot?
Oh yeah, we see that a lot. So,
oh man.
I told him, I said, number one, first and foremost, check their discharge pipe and see if that's a possibility for an option or not. If it's not, congratulate the customer that they already have a good, durable, sturdy discharge pipe in place.
That they don't have to worry about.
Make them feel good about something, right? So, anyway, I said we've got a 3rd horsepower sump pump option. We've got a 1/2 horsepower sump pump option. We've got battery backup sump pumps options. Like, let the customer pick what's best for them. The warranty gets better with all 3 of those and everything else. So I said, call me whenever you're done and let me know what you did, right? He calls me up and he says, dude, and I said, if the option presents itself, give them like a badass option. I'm talking, $3,000 to $5,000 for something.
Yeah, battery backup, got to run new power, new discharge pipe, new everything.
Right. Like that option is not always there, and it's unethical to make that option there when it's not.
Of course.
Right? So I said, if it presents itself, be focused on that. Just keep your eye out for it, and if it's there, offer it. It doesn't mean you're pushing them. It doesn't mean you're being unethical. I said, text me whenever you figure out what you're doing. I want to see how well it works. He texts me about an hour later, and he says, how's 3,500 sound for my first call?
Nice.
And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Battery backup? Watchdog?
No, they have multiple pumps in the house.
Oh, really?
They're all the same age. One died. One was still going. So he's replacing both pumps, and one of them he's putting a battery backup system in.
Nice.
And he's replacing the discharge pipe on one of them because one of them was the accordion style.
Perfect.
So I'm like, see, that right there is the power of options. And he flat out told me, he's like, if I was in the same mindset I was last week, I would have offered them 1 pump to get their 1 pump back up and going, and that was it.
Yeah.
I'm like, see? And what's crazy, the best part about that whole thing is the customer is happier now than they would have been if you just offered the 1 pump.
Yeah.
Because now they have confidence. They chose to spend that much.
Yeah.
And we saw an avenue for them to spend that much ethically. They chose to spend that much. Like, it's a perfect solution. It's literally a win on all 3 accounts.
Yeah.
So that is the power of options.
Good for him.
Yeah. Worked really well.
All right, Mitch. We said we weren't going to burn up topics.
Well,
so we're 30 in here. What else you got? What do you got for me?
Topic number 2. Cheap requests equal cheap leads.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. I saw your post when we were talking about it before the show, but
yeah.
I used to get dinged on it all the time.
So,
hey, man, do you know somebody that so I say I went out and did an HVAC call. Hey, man, do you know somebody that would replace my water heater for me?
Right.
Yeah, I could do it. Oh, man, I need somebody cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be like,
nope, don't know anybody for that.
Nope.
So
sorry. Do you want it done well, or do you want to just put it in yourself? You want to go to Home Depot and get a 350, or I mean, what do you want to do?
So
it drives me crazy.
I had made a Facebook post a day or two ago. It says, "Dear friends, I appreciate your love and support for our company. Your referrals are huge to our success. However, I have a huge favor to ask. If you see somebody asking for references, and in the same breath they're asking for the cheapest price, please don't recommend us. If they're saying they don't want to pay an arm and a leg or they don't want to break the bank, please don't recommend us. We probably aren't the best company for them. If they want gratitude, integrity, value, experience, or service, please mention our name. Those are our company values, and they guide every decision we make. And we love customers who value the same things we do. There is no other company in town that takes care of their people to the level that we do, and we want people that are on our team for the rest of their life, and it takes something special for that to happen. It means providing the absolute best benefits, best health insurance, best vacation time, best retirement, best culture, and best compensation. There's also no other company in town that takes care of their community to the level we do. Dedicating 1 day a month to making necessary plumbing repairs absolutely free of charge for people who can't afford them is a bold move, and it's very costly to a young business. We do it because we feel every business has a moral and ethical obligation to give back to their community in the largest capacity they can. So, if you see a friend who wants the highest quality and the best value from a company that will be here for many years to come, please recommend us. If you see a friend who wants the cheapest price in town, please recommend somebody else."
Yeah.
And it was received well. It's been shared a couple of times, all that stuff. It's kind of a ballsy move to do that if you're a young business owner, right? If you're super young in business,
you're not doing that.
Let's just
be honest. If you're 6 months in, you're not doing that because you're taking
every call you can get.
You're taking every stinking thing that comes down the pike. You want everything. Yep. You may not get it because you aren't the cheapest, but you don't care. You need those sales.
Yep.
So if you're only been in business for 6 months, do not do that.
Yeah.
If you're 2 or 3 years in and you've got your feet underneath you and you've got a couple guys going, you can do that if you want to do that. You don't have to. Some guys like every call. They don't care that they get bad mouthed about, not being cheap, or, they're not worried about, this is going to sound wrong. They're not worried about being, the best and the brightest and the most expensive in town. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care at all.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not a bad thing. It's just.
So I didn't post that because I'm worried about being bad-mouthed about our prices. We still have a perfect 5.0 rating on Google as of today, September 6th, 2022.
You know what? Let me get my phone. Let me see if I can
see if I can fix that.
Let me see if I can post some fucking 4-star reviews.
So I'm not worried about that. Our pricing is perfect for where it needs to be for our business. But what I am worried about is wasting mine and a customer's time. And so where that comes from a lot is going to be people that think they're helping you by throwing your name out to their friend who is a freaking cheapskate.
Yeah.
Right? We've all got that friend. We've all got that friend who thinks that they can get by without paying anything for anything. Now, is it uncommon that friend also has tons of headaches? Regarding contractors.
Everything's broke in their house.
Oh, they won't return my call, or they did crappy work, or
it's because you picked the cheapest freaking guy, bro.
Yeah, you went with the guy on the back pages of Craigslist, and he gave you the taillight warranty, and he's gone.
Yeah, you had 3 guys come out, and you literally just picked the cheapest guy.
Yeah,
and now look where you're at.
Where I see it happening the most is tree services. People will have 5 bids for tree services come out to their house, and they'll pick the absolute cheapest bid for tree services.
Yeah.
And that guy asks for half down now and then half down when he's done.
Yeah.
And you'll never see the guy again. He literally takes half down and he's gone.
See ya.
Right? So,
I think of usually I know specifically some fence guys that are super cheap.
Right.
They're no-name guys that just go out, and they'll do the job. but it's literally 1 day here, 2 days here, and it takes you a month to get a fence put up.
Yeah.
Or a deck add-on that's 12 by 4. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just, hey, I was the cheapest.
Right.
You went with them. Well, now you're waiting.
Yeah. So I didn't post it for anything worried about price or anything else. I more or less posted it because I don't want my guys wasting their time going to somebody's house who was asking for the cheapest price in town.
Yeah.
We aren't the cheapest. We literally can't be the cheapest. With how well we take care of our guys, how well we take care of our community, that shit costs money. And there I am unapologetic about our prices when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So you were shocked before we started filming this show. We charge about $800 for a toilet.
I had no idea what a toilet cost to have installed.
Yeah.
I mean, I like when something happens at my house, I just do it myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have no realistic expectation of what plumbing service costs.
Yeah. So we charge about $800 for a toilet. And if you think of it just a black and white direct service, a toilet may cost you just a tad over $200, so you guys are making almost $600 on a toilet. Wrong. We're not making anywhere near that. And toilets cost a little bit more than that. And the amount of time involved it takes to do a toilet and the amount of time we're saving a customer from doing their own is starkly different. And so, again, I am like unapologetic about our pricing because I know it's dead on. We may charge $800 for a toilet. However, our competitors in town are charging $1,200 to $1,500 for a toilet, right? Same toilet, only...
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue our install is better because we have a 10,000 hour guarantee with our company, which means we guarantee that every plumber we put in anybody's home has 10,000 hours of experience before they set foot in somebody's home. That's 5 years of experience.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these bigger shops in town that are charging $1,200 and $1,500 for a toilet
for a kid that's
and they've got a kid that's
month.
worked there for 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you're actually gonna spend less with us, and you're gonna get a guy with at least 5 times the experience.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I will say in my situation, when you're a one-man shop, you can charge what seems like a lot less because you don't have that.
You don't have the overhead.
You don't have overhead. So I bring that up because I don't want to turn off our listeners that are one-man shops. And they're like,
Yeah.
man, no, I am the cheapest. You can still be the cheapest as a one-man shop and make a ton of money.
Yeah, God,
okay.
yeah.
So don't think that you're cheating yourself or cheating your customers or cheating the other guys in your community that work for bigger shops. You're not.
Yeah.
And listen, if you get to the point where you're really busy, go to their price point.
Yeah.
Okay.
You control your schedule by what you charge.
If you're so busy that you can't keep up or are barely keeping up or want a little more time off, or say you love it but you want to be making more money, raise your price point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call around. We've talked about this on numerous episodes. Call around town and say, just pretend to be a customer and say, hey, I had a bid for a toilet. It was X amount of dollars. I don't know if this guy's ripping me off. Would you guys come out and look at it, or could you give me a price for it?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, the person on the phone is going to give you a price.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to know, hey, I could raise my price. Say I'm a plumber in Mitch's neighborhood, and I call and they say it's $900, and I'm a one-man shop, and I'm like, man, I could charge $700 easy, be making more money,
right?
Still be less than this guy, and offering a quality service.
Right.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of capitalism.
Yeah, most one-man shops, fairly blanket statement here, most one-man shops could double their price.
Oh, yeah.
And not see a change at all in what their customers think about it. So don't be afraid to charge what you're worth.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy, like plumbing is insanely easy for me. I've done it for 20 years. There's not a thing in plumbing that I can't figure out.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I'm not a professional plumber, and I mean, any fucking dope can change out a toilet.
Yeah, whatever. So, if I charge customers based off of how difficult it was for me to do it, holy shit, I wouldn't be charging anything at all, right?
Yeah.
I'm not charging customers based off of how hard it is for me. I'm charging customers based off of how much I'm saving them, how much time and agony and frustration and trips to the hardware store and everything else I'm saving them. That's what I'm charging customers for. So, don't be chasing the cheap request. If you are brand new in business and your schedule is empty, you're going to take every chance you can. The moment your schedule starts to fill up,
if you're getting 2 weeks out,
if you're in a home service business and you're 2 weeks out, that's a problem. You need to hire like 2 guys right now,
or raise your price.
Or raise your price.
If you don't want to hire guys and you want to be a one-man show, raise your price. Or raise your price half what you think it should be and hire one guy.
Yeah.
Instead of 2. There's a lot of give and take in there, and there are a lot of options. Don't feel like, I have to do this, or I have to hire 2 guys, or there are other ways to manipulate your schedule and still take care of your quality customers.
Yeah. The other thing too is track how many calls you go on versus how many sales you make. And what you're shooting for is you want to make sales on 80% of the calls that you go on. If you're selling every call you go on, your pricing is too cheap. You need 20% of the opportunities to tell you no in order to validate that you are on the correct price.
Or you're just a badass salesman.
Maybe.
Dude, I know some guys that can sell. Then that's all, they sell everything. It doesn't matter. They're just so smooth and so laid back, and they just everything they touch just turns cold. But that's a pretty rare.
Yep.
That's a rarity.
I mean, it sounds silly, especially if you're listening to this show and you haven't been in business yet, and you're thinking, man, these guys are crazy. They're literally planning on 20% of their customers telling them no. And
not in the beginning.
Not necessarily in the beginning. We're talking about the moment your schedule gets full. So a month or 2 into business.
When your feet are under you and you're running.
Yep. And so here's the logic. Let's say I'm charging $200 for this repair.
And that's what.
And every single customer I go to buys that repair at $200. Okay? And let's say I can do this repair 5 times a day. Well, now I'm making $1,000 a day. Okay? We're just going to keep this super simple. Well, if I'm selling to every customer, based off that logic, I only want to sell to 80% of them. Well, let's crank that number from 200 to 300. I can still do 5 a day. All 5 still tell me yes. Well, now I just made an extra $500 a day.
$1,500.
I'm at $1,500 for a day. All customers are still telling me yes, so they all are still seeing the value in it, right? So now let me crank the price up to 400. And I'm waiting for that 1 out of 5 customers to tell me no. So I crank it up to 14, or I crank it up to 400. Now 4 tell me no. All right, I've hit my limit.
Yeah, I got to go back down to 325.
I'm sorry. 4 tell me yes, 1 tells me no.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm at 1,200 for the day. I got a really quick no, so now I actually have opportunity to go run another call and maybe sell another one. Maybe. So that's what I'm getting at. So what you're flirting against is you're not the $200 price. You don't want to be overpriced, but you want to be priced at the level to where about 20% of your customers are telling you no.
Yeah, and in every market's different. That's why you have to do, I want to say experiments, but that's basically what it is, an experiment about where your price point should be.
Yeah.
Because here in Missouri, $900 for a toilet's one thing. You go to California and they're charging you $2,500 for a toilet. You have to know where your price point is at in your town and the areas that you serve.
And you have to know your costs in business, and you have to know your goals in business, right? If you're a guy who just wants to be self-employed so he doesn't have a boss, but you don't really have aspirations to grow or retire any faster than you would have otherwise, then you can kind of do whatever you want. Chances are, if you're that guy, you're probably not listening to our show. So maybe.
I'm kind of like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys want to they want to be able to work really hard for a few days a week and then have time with their family.
Yep.
Other guys want to get up at 4 and work till 5 every night, no matter what is going on.
Right.
They want to do it 6 days a week because that is just what drives them.
Yeah.
You know, there are different. That's what makes the trade so great, I feel. Especially if you want to be a small business owner, you can literally make it what you want.
You can do whatever option you want.
Are there going to be times when you've got to work more? Yes. Are there going to be times when you're a little out of money because it's slow season like we talked about in the last episode? Yes.
Right.
But there is a ton of breathing room for everyone. Now, is a hair salon that way? Not really. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
But we speak to more of, electricians, HVAC guys, plumbers, lawnmower guys. When I bring that up, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah. It still applies to the hair salons too, though.
It can.
I've known quite a few people that have had hair salons, and they sold them for what they bought them for 20 years ago, and they basically just used it for income for the whole 20 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't an investment. It wasn't a build a business and sell it model or anything else. So it just gave them a platform to not have a boss.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start small plumbing companies, get 2 or 3 guys, and then sell them to Mitch or his competitors. I haven't decided yet.
Well, I think it'd be kind of difficult. Like, say like plumbing as compared to, say, if someone were to be like, I want to start a film production company. Because with plumbers, if you're running a plumbing company, it's like you have 3 plumbers. But with that, you have your sound guy, you have your producer, you have this. And so it's like you're having to work with like different trades within the same.
You still have overhead. You still have costs, right? Like plumbing companies, we've got accountants, we've got bookkeepers, we've got call takers. The same rule applies. If everybody is saying yes to your price is too cheap. You're undervaluing your service, and this is incredibly common in the trades industries. Any trades thing,
in the trades.
because we way undervalue our skill set. You got to keep in mind, they're calling you because they can't do it or they don't want to do it. That right there in itself says you're worth a whole lot more than you think you are.
Yeah.
So,
like in the photography world, like I notice it's what kind of kills the morale is you come in contact with like a real estate agent that's like, well, I got a guy who can do it for $100.
yeah.
Is it the guy who's like? I feel like that position is designed.
That's the same. That's the same. Can be pushed to everything.
Let's talk on that for a second. I have a lot of real estate friends, and if I have any friends listening to this show, they will know that I am not talking about them when I say this. But
yes,
most real estate agents are absolute pieces of shit. And if you are in the home services industry and you do a lot of work for real estate agents, I can guarantee you are not profitable. Real estate agents have no care in the world for anything else other than their commission. Most. Again, I have a lot of friends that are real estate agents. They don't apply. And not just because
speaking directly to you guys.
Yeah.
Not just because they're my friends, because I don't have friends that are real estate agents that are shitty like this. I encounter them a ton. Here's the classic call. We get a call. Yeah, I've got a leak at a house. I need you guys to get it fixed. Okay, cool. What's the address? Oh, well, it's a house I'm selling, or it's a house my buyers are working at, or I'm representing the seller.
Yeah, it's because they just want a number.
They always say, right?
They want a number.
And they'll say, like, can you guys be here in 30 minutes? No. Right?
Yeah.
And then, well, I need to be there. Like, it needs to get fixed ASAP. This is holding up a sale. Lack of preparation on your part is not a constitute an emergency on my part, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, then here's the creme de la creme. Is they'll have you want to do all this work, and then they'll say, can you take payment at closing? They don't even want to pay you for it. They want to take the proceeds from the sale of the house and have the title company write you a check weeks or months later.
Yeah, no thanks.
Like I have a story on that. So this is before I realized that real estate agents are like that mostly. There's the real estate agent. He wanted to meet me at some breakfast place in Blue Springs. What they call next to the Price Chopper.
First Watch.
First Watch. Yeah.
Yep.
We sit down and we talk for like 3 hours. And we decided on a price for like video was going to charge him $500 for this house tour, and
he wanted to pay you at closing.
He wanted to pay me $400. He's like, all I can spend $400 because my whole budget's like $1,000. He's like, I want to spend half of it for video, and so I didn't hear from him. Like we agreed on it, And then I didn't hear from him, and I sent an email like, "Hey, it's a week out. Just make for sure." He's, "Oh yeah, I meant to message you. I went with someone else who's doing it for $100."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't go from 400 to 100.
And here's a couple of things. For one, that guy's a dirtbag. For two, I guarantee you the video that he paid for $100 did not help him sell the house at all. If anything, it probably cost him a sale.
It was probably his iPhone 13.
Probably.
He was just walking around the house making
real estate guys just love their iPhones. They're like, I can do it for my iPhone.
And I don't know. I mean, apparently there's just enough really hungry tradesmen out there that'll put up with it, but we absolutely do not put up with it. And we tell them flat out, we don't work for real estate agents. We will work for the customer and so on. Now, I have a guy that lives in my neighborhood. He's a real estate agent. He is he's the opposite of what we're talking about. He'll call us up and say, "Hey, I want to list this property, but I noticed a leak in my initial walkthrough, and I don't even want to list it until the leak's fixed. I'm going to send you out there. I'm paying the bill on this one. I'll handle it with the customer." Fuck yeah. That's how you do service. Not only does it make it easy for us to do work with him, I guarantee you he sells more houses than anybody else because he's doing it right, and he's actually making decisions that are in the best interest of the customer instead of the best interest of his pocketbook and his commission.
Yeah. And that hurt us too, because we were in the business. I was still a Quick at the time, and we were still trying to. This is before I met Mitch or anything like that. So it was like we were trying to transition into our own business.
Yep.
And so we were really counting on that $400. And I remember it being we had to DoorDash and scrounge and save to come clean, because I was I went down to 4 days of work instead of 5, because I was like, well, I'll just take Fridays, and that's going to be if I can do one client a week kind of thing. And so I just remember being that really hurt us.
Yeah. If your business is built around having real estate agents support you, you are missing out big time.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, there's a lot of those guys that you'll never ever convince them. But if you have the ability to get work anywhere else, do it, and you will be tremendously better off for it. On top of all that, real estate agents they're just big headaches.
Yeah.
They're needy. They call all the time. They can't ever give you an answer. Half these agents, I don't even know why they call us. Because they'll call us and ask us if we can do stuff.
Because they've burned 8 bridges already.
Well, no.
They're just going to the next guy.
They'll call us and say, can you guys get out here tomorrow? And I'll say, yeah, I got an appointment between 2 and 4. Does that work? Oh, let me call the buyer and see. Well, why the fuck are you even calling me?
Yeah.
You're not doing anybody any favors. You're playing like you're doing favors, but you're really just slowing everything down.
Yeah. And also, too, Mitch and I talked this off screen a few days ago, where it's especially with photography and video, since it's not like plumbing, or it's not like eating, it's not like filling up gas, it's not like a necessity of life. So if it's if you give the client any room to sleep on it and think about their decision, it's we'll have clients locked up, but it's a month from now.
Yeah.
And so they have a whole month to think about do we really need family photos, or can we just wait till the next season?
Right.
10% non-refundable deposit.
Yep. So there's actually one person that
if they do cancel out, you're yeah, free money.
We have one person that we blacklisted just because we didn't tell her this, but she's basically blacklisted because it was doing that and I want to change it. I don't want to do anymore. Actually, can we do it here? And so eventually her contract is a specific contract just for her that's paying 100% right now, non-refundable.
Yep.
If you change the location one more time, we're not doing the photo shoot.
So I had a real estate agent. I had a real estate agent call in 2 weeks ago. And they said, how much do you guys charge to camera or scope a sewer line for the sale of a home? And I clarified, I said, we don't record anything. Our cameras are live. So we'll give you a written report. And she said, that's fine. And I said, so we're $209 to camera the line and give you a written assessment. If it's
plugged and the screen's black, that's all you're getting for $209.
That's what the assessment says, right?
Yeah.
And so... and she said, wow, that's really expensive. The guy that I'm used to using, he charges $150, and my backup guy, he charges $200. I'm
$9.
I'm $209. We're literally a fucking Happy Meal away from her backup guy, and she's... Let me think about it. Let me check with the sellers and see if they're okay spending that much. It's $9 You wasted $9 on this phone call.
Well, it's how...
But that's how petty they are, right? Now, why was she calling me? Well, her main go-to couldn't get to her for 2 weeks. Her backup couldn't get to her for a week and a half. She needed this done, and within 3 days, I could get out there tomorrow. She's letting $9 stand in the way. Like, I'm not even going to chase that. Like, I'm not going to.
Really, call me if you want it.
Yeah, be like,
see you, goodbye.
Tell
Have
you
a
what,
nice day.
That opening on the schedule tomorrow is probably going to fill up if you don't take it right now.
And I feel like too.
I'm not going to feel bad about it.
I could care less.
I feel like a lot of it maybe has to do with like, I don't know if there's this aspect of a real estate agent. They're more concerned about keeping the morale up with the buyers than they are actually.
Saving money. That's all fake. They're more concerned about their commission than anything else. But what they don't understand is if they spent more time providing service to the buyer or the seller, they'd make their commission in a heartbeat. Like the guy in my neighborhood who pays for it out of his own pocket and then settles it up with them. He's more concerned about doing the right thing and then letting the money work itself out than he is about the money. And therefore, he sells a boatload of stuff. And I know he sells a boatload of stuff because he has us do a repair on probably half of the stuff he sells, and we do a bunch of freaking work for him. And every single time it's, hey, can you go over here? I noticed a leak. I just want to get it fixed. Sweet.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's, of course, my in the realm of, like, running a business is, like, very, like, thin. But, you know, the time that we did try, like, running a business is, like... just running into terms of like I had to make for sure I communicated a lot beforehand.
Yeah.
Because there was a good chunk, probably about half of this. Of course, this is us figuring it out and that sort of stuff. Just like what we can and can't do. Like we can't schedule photo shoots in wintertime at the World War I Museum with the family because every time we had a kid fall down the stairs, just stuff like that. And so it's like just communicating up front and that sort of thing. Like I feel like. I could have saved us a lot of headache by doing that because it's just like, for instance, telling them like, hey, download the photos. So, because I don't want to have a Google Drive with photos from 6 years ago from someone's photo shoot.
Well, yeah, you just give them a timeline and say that if you don't download them at this time, they're gone. And then you give them a reminder and say, you've got 2 more days to download them.
Just download them onto a flash drive, mail them the flash drive, delete their photos.
That works too. Yep. So, we have one more topic to hit. And that is...
What are we talking about?
Recession outlook. Ugh. Dave, how do you think the looming quote-unquote recession is going to affect the home services industry?
I'm going to say hardly at all.
Elaborate why.
Because people need service. Yep. Your home needs maintenance.
Yep.
Okay, I said earlier, I said recession proof, and you said, what did you say?
Recession resistant.
Resistant.
Yep.
Resilient would be another word. Because
nothing's recession proof.
No, but, I mean, when your toilet's overflowing or you're leaking water everywhere, you have to have it fixed. Yep. When it's winter time and your furnace isn't on, you have to have it fixed.
Yeah.
When there's a short in your electrical panel in the middle of summer and your air's not running, you have to call an electrician.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things that I know these are going to be a little off of our normal business, like as in it's for everybody. But those 3 trades specifically are very recession proof. I mean, it's amazing to me. I mean, even remember in 2008, 2009, when it was literally in the crapper, people were being laid off. People were taking 20% pay cuts to keep their job just so that they still had their job. In July, when that air conditioner quit working, I got paid.
Yeah.
People don't give a shit what it costs.
Right.
They will find the money to fix that air conditioner when it's 100 out and the humidity is 90%.
Yep.
They will always find a way. If they have to skip 4 meals, if they have to not take their kids to dance, they don't care.
Right.
They will make it happen.
Yep.
Because it has to. It's just like gas in your car. You don't want to pay the $3.50. You can cut back, but you're paying the $3.50 to get to work.
Yep.
I mean, there are certain things in life that no matter what is happening, you will make it happen.
Yep.
You'll get to work. You will get your toilet repaired.
Right.
You will get your wife's hair done, because if you don't, she's a raging bitch. There are certain things, I'm not talking about Danielle and I, there are certain things in people's lives that they will get done no matter the cost. I mean, if '08 happens again, would Mitch maybe have to lay a guy off? Yeah, probably.
Maybe. So,
but you know what? The best two guys still got a job.
The big play here, and I'm glad we got onto the subject of real estate agents before we talked about this. If you're in bed with a bunch of real estate agents...
I loved them in '08. They were all floundering.
Yeah. If you're in bed with a bunch of real estate agents and you rely on real estate agent referrals for your business, you're going to be fucked during a recession. Because the recession hits the real estate market the hardest, right?
Usually. People
stop buying and selling homes, but what happens if you're not buying a new home? You're fixing the one that you're in.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're in the home service and repair industry, you're okay.
Yeah.
If you know how to go to market direct to the consumer and get the sticky-handed real estate agent out of it. Right? That's where it plays really, really well. Now, not all real estate agents are fucked in the recession. The real estate agents that want to pay $200 instead of $209, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But the real estate agents like the guy across my neighborhood that does the right thing and then knows that the money will work itself out, he's going to be just fine through the recession. I have no question about that.
In a recession, no matter what industry you're in, I mean, this is a little off topic, but not really, but the cream always rises to the top.
Yep.
So when we talk about being ethical with your customers, and we talk about being great with your employees, and we talk about being a stand-up member in your community, you're rising to the top. And when there are issues, and when there are slowdowns, and there are recessions, those companies do not suffer as much as the fly-by-night guys, or the guys that are super cheap, or the guys that are, rotating employees in and out of the door.
Yeah.
You know, all the things we've talked about on the episodes as far as, where your heart's at, how you treat people, all of those things, all of those core values are recession-proof.
Yep.
No matter what happens, if you're a stand-up member in your community, people will look out for you. If say something awful did happen, like it was '08, and Mitch literally had to lay two guys off, but it was him and one other guy, and he put a plea out on Facebook that says, hey, I'm going to be real with you here. We're struggling. We know money's tight with everybody. We're just trying to drum up a little bit more business. If you have something, we'd be happy to look at it for you.
Right.
People are going to say, oh, man, okay, yeah, hey, you know what, I got this you could look at, or I know somebody that needs this, or I know somebody that needs that.
Right.
And that gets back to just doing the right thing all around,
right?
Like we talk about all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, if you don't have a hinging relationship with a real estate agent, you're probably going to do just fine through the recession. The recession doesn't really affect a lot of blue-collar people anyway. If you're on the I don't want to, let me stand back. The recession does affect blue-collar people because, like, for instance, in '08, I was working for a commercial. I was working for a plumbing company that did residential and commercial. And I was on the commercial side of things, right? Well, commercial projects are, they're funded with investors and they're funded with government money and everything else. So when the recession happens and all that money tightens up, well, now those projects come to a crawl. Well, what did I do? And I didn't know I was doing the right thing at the time. I literally just went with the next best option. I moved departments in that same company. I moved from their commercial department to their residential department. And I started doing plumbing repairs for people's homes instead of for commercial buildings. And just like Dave said, people had the money. They found a way to come up with the money to take care of the repairs that they needed to have taken care of. And literally, that's when my home service career took off. So I I didn't realize how stable the home service business is.
Yeah.
If you provide really good service and you price yourself fairly and you offer an incredible value to the customer, recession is like a word that is barely even in my vocabulary because it does not affect what we do near to the level that we think it does.
Yeah. And listen, it does for lawnmowers, and it does for hairstylists. It won't for mechanics.
Well,
cars still have to run. There are certain areas where you can dodge the bullet at.
So this goes back to sales and options and cheap requests and cheap leads and everything else. If you're constantly chasing those cheap leads,
those dry up quick.
Get in a recession. Guess who is the first one to make the decision to fix it for themselves versus paying a plumber?
The guys that want it cheap.
The guy who was bitching about the super cheap price that you gave him anyway.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole reason they're bitching is because they're thinking of an avenue where they could have done it themselves.
Yeah.
And so if you're constantly chasing those leads, you're literally putting yourself in a bad position for a recession.
It's just like you're supposed to do with your portfolio. You have to be diversified. If you're focused 100% in one area, it's not going to work.
Right.
I mean, you need to be. This contradicts a little bit what I said earlier. You can chase some of those cheap leads. You can chase the value leads. You can chase some of the real high-end leads. But when something does happen, one of those areas is going to dry up.
Yeah.
Guess which one it's not? The value leads.
Yeah.
The ones we push guys to do. And those leads will always be there. The cheap leads will go. The real expensive leads will go, just like you were talking about in commercial.
Yeah.
Listen, we're in a recession now.
Yeah.
Okay. They're saying we're not. It's
because they changed the definition of what a recession is.
It's not 2008 this time.
Nope.
So in 2008, there were.
It's not a crash.
There were 100 houses and 50 people to buy them. Okay, in 2008. Right now in the housing market, we're still short in this country 4 million homes.
Yep.
Okay, so demand is still extremely high.
Yep.
So I don't think the recession that we're in now is not going to be 2008. Okay, I mean, will they sell as many because the rate's real high right now? No, they won't sell as many. Okay, they're slowing that stuff down.
Right.
So it's going to be a little more of a lull than like 2008. I mean, Mitch and I aren't like telling everybody to panic.
Right,
Dude,
right.
Shit. Oh, what are we going to do? It's not going to be like that. But nevertheless, if you're running your company in an upstanding way, like we tell people to do, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be just fine.
Yep. Yeah. I would not be, if you are in the direct to homeowner sales, I would not be concerned about recession at all.
No.
Not in the slightest. So if your path relies on commercial or your path relies on real estate agents, then I would start today and start waning off of that.
Diversify.
And get more into direct to residential.
Don't give it up, but just try to add to.
Yeah.
Don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to help these people out because I'm focused over here on getting more."
You could flat give up the cheap ass real estate agents. That's not gonna
Mitch
hurt
is
you.
mad at real estate agents. I'm
always mad at real estate agents because most of them, not all of them. I don't know how I became like most of my real estate agent friends. Almost every single one of my real estate agent friends is not who I talk about here. However, like there's thousands of real estate agents in the market, and somehow I drew into the luck with having good friends with being friends with the good ones. But most of them are absolute dirtbags.
Yeah.
So, and they act like they're super poor.
Oh yeah.
And there's just no money to be had for it. It's just like what Austin was saying. I'm going to sell a house.
I think they feel like they have to be salesmen on everything.
I don't know.
I mean, I know a couple really well, and I'm not. They're not that way. Although I will say, I don't know if he listens to this show or not, but he sold my house in Blue Springs, and last week I talked to him and then texted him an address, said I want to go look at this house to buy as a flipper, and then he didn't ever get back with me, and I just remembered that right now. So right now, I'm a little mad at that guy.
Well,
so I'm going to text him here in a minute.
That's another, like, we're coming off of this massive wave with real estate activity, right? There's literally probably half of the real estate agents in the nation aren't going to be here in 2 or 3 years because they've literally come off like the best of booming of times where they didn't have to do shit and they could treat their customers like shit and they didn't have to follow up and they didn't have to dot their I's and they didn't have to cross their T's. Like a freaking monkey could have sold a house over the last couple of years, right?
Well, what did I say earlier? I said the cream will always rise to the top.
Right.
So the ones that have done well and the ones that got back with people and the ones that are the best, you're just like you said, they'll rise to the top, and then the other ones, literally, they'll be shut down.
Yeah.
Or they'll be working at Home Depot.
And those other ones are going to be like, oh, I don't know what happened. Well, you didn't call the guy back.
You know what?
Didn't follow up.
That's with every industry, though.
It is.
That's with every industry.
It is.
That's business 101.
I think, too,
that's being a good person 101.
It's have a process that works and stick to the process no matter how busy you are.
And no matter, like, who's watching. So maybe there's this, it's like a biblical principle is, like, even no one's watching, like, do the best work possible.
Yeah.
Layla has a Alex Morgan poster up in her room, and it says, always practice like no one's watching.
Right. Right.
Which she doesn't do. But, I mean, I'm, like, trying to, get her to do it. But
it gets into your, like, the thing is, because I've been there before in, like, past jobs where it's like, oh, no one's watching. It's like, I'll do 90%. But that starts to, like, bleed and grow and develop. And then all of a sudden now it's like people are watching, and it's like, hey, let's see how far I can get to the fence before someone gets me in trouble or something like that.
Right. I mean, that's part of our core values in our company is we do work to the best of our abilities, whether it's going to get covered up or anybody's ever going to see it. I mean, literally today, I just put a whole bunch of pipes under concrete, and within 20 minutes, they were covered in concrete. I could have made the shittiest looking pipe job ever, but every glue joint looked great. Everything was nice and squared away. Nobody saw it but me. Didn't even take a photo of it, but it still looked amazing.
I'm going to get that because that's where it starts. Just kind of like why whenever someone gets arrested for, like,
where are we going here, Austin?
But what I'm saying is, like, it's like an outgrowth. So it's like, so say someone like is arrested for, like, dealing drugs. It's like it's not like everything in their life is perfect except for that. It's like, oh, well, they also lie, and they also cheat, and they also this. It's like an outgrowth.
They just got caught for that one thing.
Yeah, so that's where I was trying to take the train. I'm on the same train. I'm just a couple cars behind. I'm like in the train with all, like, the charcoal.
It's like the series Breaking Bad. I freaking love the series Breaking Bad. I'm watching it for like the 4th or 5th time.
Never seen it.
Right?
Never watched one episode.
Dude, it's cool. It's really cool. Well, there's a scene in the movie or in the series where they're going to make a massive deal with a ultra high level guy, right? And the guy watched them for a while and then never even showed up to the deal because he didn't like what he saw. And he flat out calls the guy out saying, you're irresponsible. Your partner was high on drugs and he was late to the biggest deal of your life. Your partner was late and he was high on drugs. That tells me everything I need to know about you.
Was that the guy that cooks with him?
Yeah.
Is he a drug addict too?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
I understand the show. Maybe I should watch it. How many seasons is it?
5 or 6, I think.
Oh, so not too many.
I enjoy it because it's one of those things where I can have it on in the background where I'm doing other stuff, and I catch it, but I don't really have to
Cranston
plug
is
in.
Like one of the greatest actors of our generation. For
he's
sure.
good.
He's super good.
So, but I mean, they hit on a very, very key subject there. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's again, dirtball real estate agents. If they're always showing up late to shit,
just keeps bringing up the real estate.
It's not like they're perfect in every way except for that. You know, it's an outgrowth of.
Yeah. So, well, we are running a little long in the tooth here, so let's wrap this thing up.
Mitch.
Guys, if you liked what you heard today, if you saw value in today's episode, if you have a friend of yours that is struggling with any of the things we talked about today, please do us a favor and hit the share button on this episode right now and send it to them. We would really appreciate it. Also, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, please do us a favor and drop us a 5-star review for the show. Those help us out dramatically. So until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Appreciate it, guys.
Peace.